Hi, welcome to today's virtual tea festival. I hope you enjoy the previous session, and my name is Alba and I will be today's tea performer. To give you a little bit of background, so I'm originally from Spain, Barcelona, but I have been working in Japan for 7 years and another bunch of years learning tea ceremony here in Japan. So today we're gonna do a Japanese tea ceremony under Omotesenke style. As for those that you don't know, tea ceremony has several branches, but the main ones will be Omotesenke, Urasenke, and Mujakushi-senke. There's another small branches that have been developing through the years, so if you ever have the chance to watch any other of them when you come here to Japan, it's highly encouraging how to see the difference between all of them and how I've been developing through the years. So Omotesenke is the style that originally come all the way from Kyoto, and this is the style that my sensei teach to me, and before that my teacher sensei before that. So that's the one I'm practicing today. In terms of how the session is gonna go, I'm gonna divide it into 3 parts, and because we don't have a lot of time, only 45 minutes, I'm gonna keep it to the basics. So if you're a senior or very knowledgeable about tea ceremony and you would like ask other type of questions or you just enjoy a cup of tea with me another day, feel free to ping me on my social media. So as I was saying, we will divide this session in 3 parts. 1, the tea ceremony. 2, explaining the basics about the tea ceremony and what exactly it is, the meaning behind. And 3, basic manners for the guests that they go to a tea ceremony. And this will be very useful if you ever go to a tea ceremony, to keep respectfully the basics on how to join and participate during the tea ceremony. So why I would like you to see first the ceremony before any explanations? Because I wanted to join and enjoy the tea ceremony without any preassumptions or explanations. Will be like just going to an art museum and watch a painting without reading the explanation from the artist before. Just enjoy the painting and see how it feels too. So relax. Sit, relax, enjoy, and if you can drink a cup of tea with me, that will be great. I'm very sorry I cannot make one for you virtually, hopefully someday in the future, but if you ever come to Japan, again, I will be happy to perform a face-to-face tea ceremony for you. Okay, so let's get started with the tea ceremony first. Hope you enjoy it. For today's tea ceremony, we selected 3 types of wagashi, Japanese traditional sweets, that they are inspired in today's season, autumn. So on one side we have the chestnut, very typical from this season, the momiji, which means autumn leaf, and then we also have a very special one that is inspired in the tsukimi. Tsukimi means watch the moon, and it's usually done early October when it's said that it's the most beautiful moon of the year. So it's the custom in Japan to buy some sweets and watch the moon while eating them. This one is inspired by the stars and the Via Lactea. Hope you can see it properly. As you can see, koicha, as the name implies, is much more thicker than the normal usucha, the standard matcha that we all get in all these shops. Also, koicha is served with this dashibokusa and is used to hold the chawan, the tea bowl, while you are drinking it. Usually when you serve koicha, the tea bowl that you are receiving is quite old and expensive, and this means that you want to use this dashibokusa, this fabric, to be able to protect it. Also, Japanese use this timing to be able to enjoy not only the tea bowl but also the dashibokusa, which has very beautiful patterns. Okay, hope you have enjoyed the tea ceremony. So let me walk you through a little bit of what happened here. There will be around 4 stages, let's say. The first one is when you come in and you bring all the tools here and start cleaning them. So just as FYI, all the tools are clean before coming in, but it's just a way to show respect to your guests in terms of that, look, I'm cleaning the tools for you, and watching them being clean in front of you is one of the parts of the tea ceremony. At the same time, it has a second meaning. It means that you are purifying the tools before using them. You're thanking them for where you're gonna proceed now, right? So it has two meanings. One, purifying them, and two, make sure that the guests feel that you have cleaned the tools before start the ceremony. The second part will be the make the tea. So that it's quite straightforward. You just pull the tea in the hot water inside, and then because this is a not tatami mat, I'm sorry because it's a little bit difficult to book tea rooms now with coronavirus. This is not a tatami mat, but usually if you will have a tatami mat, you will have a line here which divides the client, the guest area with the tea host area. So it means that when I put the tea bowl right outside, it's ready for the guests to come and take in. The third stage will be clean it again. However, as you can see, my cleaning this time when I'm finalizing is slightly more faster because it's a little bit facade. You really are not cleaning fully the tools. You just let them know that the tea ceremony is going to be finished. So this time I performed koicha, which is thick tea ceremony, which is slightly different of usucha, which is light tea, and the light tea is slightly faster, and then you use a lot of tea bowls. However, for koicha you only use one tea bowl that is usually rakchawan, like this one, and it's quite a big tea bowl, and you will pass it all around so everyone drinks from the same tea bowl. As you can imagine, we cannot do koicha right now with corona, but I think it's one of my favorite ceremonies because everyone enjoys from the same tea bowl, and also when you drink thick tea you can really feel the flavor of the matcha rather than usucha, and it's very intense, so I really like it. If you like bitter flavors, that definitely is something you want to try if you haven't yet. For koicha, when you return the chawan, because there's only one and goes passing everyone until it's finished, this means basically that the tea ceremony is over. So the last guest will bring it back to the first guest. The first guest will check that the chawan, the tea bowl is good to go, basically has no broken or anything, and then it will be returned back, and then it means that I will start cleaning. Again, it's a quickly clean because you don't want to make them wait. So once I start katazukeru, so everything goes back in, especially for koicha. Usucha, sometimes this is not needed, but especially for koicha, you will do ohaiken, which means that you will pull out 3 tools, which are the chaki or chaire, the shifuku, which is the wrapping of chaki or chaire. Chaki or chaire just means is a pot where you put tea. This is actually an atsumi, but I'm so sorry, I do not own a chaire. So this one has no shifuku, but the shifuku basically will be, as the name says, fuku. It's just a cloth that wraps that pot. And then the chashaku, which is the teaspoon. So this will be the 3 tools that you will pull out, and it brings me to the last stage, which basically is observe the tools and how beautiful, how I made the small details, like from the keshiki, the landscape, to the fabric, this is not fabric, from the materials, the fabric if it's fabric, and if it's bamboo, where is exactly the Fuji and how it's made, and this is small details, and it's a really beautiful part because it just shows you that it's just every single thing within the tea room, within the tea ceremony, within the environment of all this, of the China you, is basically thought and is to enjoy the small things, which is very Japanese philosophy, right? Like wabi-sabi and stuff like that. So it just enjoy the small things. Like I have this natsume and just get lost into this bamboo for the sake of just appreciate the small things you have, right? So instead of have like many things, just have 3-4 tools that are good and enjoy them for a long time, right? So these are the things that you usually, not this one because it's actually not very expensive one, but it has a personal meaning for me, this one. But you will gather the best tools that you have, and you will put them to show and share with everyone when you do the tea ceremony, right? So you will see that usually what you use in a tea ceremony is very all. All sometimes means expensive as well, so you want to be careful with them, and you might like or not the style, but just enjoy the how they are made, from the shape to the color to the fabric to the material to who signed it right here and all this, right? So it's a very, I think it's very mindful thing to do, right? Just enjoy the small details of something, right? And when you come to a tea ceremony, at the same time you're already thinking like this, because from the tatami, how it's made, the architecture of the tea room, from how you wear, kimono is usually put seasonally, like for example this is it's just finishing autumn right now, and I just wear this greenish kind of not very light, more like obscure green, which kind of like feels like the last green leaves are already kind of fall, and then also from the chavana, the flowers that they put in the tea room, from the shodo in the wall, which I'm sorry I don't have one. I do have them in the tea ceremony of my sensei, but not here. And then, sorry, tea room, not tea ceremony. And pretty much everything, like the tools you use, for example, just this one because it has the take, and the take is very used in autumn, in fall. Then the where you are putting the chakama, which is the hot pot that you use to warm the water, where you're putting it, like if closer to the guest or more far away from the guest, according if it's fall, winter, or spring, summer at the same time, right? So you kind of think all this is thought before you come in. So I will recommend you that if you ever go to a tea ceremony, pay attention to everything that is around you, and if you have the time, of course, have questions. I know that especially with the language, and depending on the people, they don't like to have a lot of questions. And finally, I always have questions, and my sensei has been always very nice to reply all the questions I had. But just get the feeling of the whole room, and you will see that everything is thought and prepared for every single second, every single day. And it will not be the same that is October 31st to 1st November, and what exactly are you putting there. The same for the tea bowls. The tea bowls also are seasonal, and it also depends on the tea ceremony that you are holding. For example, koicha, you use this type of bowl, but maybe in usucha you will not use this type of bowl, you will use different one, right? So everything is thought. So I hope this makes a little bit more light and it brings more curiosity into the amazing world of Japanese tea ceremony. Okay, so let's go to the third part. These are the finally do's and don'ts for be a guest in a tea ceremony. If you ever join one here in Japan or back in your country, there's some tea rooms or Japanese communities, you definitely want to know this. So, first of all, bring socks, a pair of socks with you. Ideally, if they're white, better, but a pair of new socks in your bag. So obviously not everyone brings has a tabi, right? Or they're gonna go full dress in kimono and with your geta, right? So that's completely fine. You don't need to wear kimono to go to a tea ceremony. It makes it more fun, of course, but you don't need to. But it's polite manners that you don't use your dirty socks from your shoes, like the ones that were inside the sneakers, you know, for a smell, or the drinks won't get wet, or you have, it happens sometimes, they're a little bit broken, you know. So it is respectful manners to just put on the same you're wearing it, a new pair of new socks. If they are white, better, because the white has meaning of cleanliness. Sorry. And this will mean that basically when you're going to the tatami, you will not make dirty the tatami. At the same time, it will not create any weird smells, or if you get wet because it was raining, you will not be soaking wet, basically, right? So this is something key, and I wish someone told me way in advance to go to tea ceremonies, because it happened more than once that you go to tea ceremony in sandals and you have no socks and then you're there feeling like you are outside of context. So always bring a pair of clean socks in your bag, and you can put them when you arrive, and if they are white, better. The second one will be, so this is something that maybe not everyone knows, but the first and the second guest, Jikyaku and Shokyaku, are the most important guests in the room. They are the ones kind of the leading to the rest of the guests. And the Jikyaku, which is the first one, usually is the more knowledgeable person in the room, meaning that in my case will be my sensei for me, but for my sensei it will be completely different person with much more experience in years, right? So because in Japan people is very humble, nobody never wants to sit down there, which makes it very difficult to start the tea ceremony, because there's always that seat empty, and until the seat is not complete, they cannot start. Meaning that it have been more than once that they have put me there because other people didn't want to sit in, and of course having me there, it means that okay, the person sitting there is not gonna be that much knowledgeable, so we need to tone it a little bit down. To be honest, I never want to sit there because it puts a lot of pressure. That's the person that is gonna speak with the tea master. So to clarify, the tea host and the tea master are completely different. The tea host or tea performer is the person doing the tea ceremony. The tea master is a person sitting there and explaining or talking with the guests about the tools and about the season and then about the garden outside. And usually not everyone is speaking between each other, but the Jikyaku, the first guest, and the tea master are the ones leading the conversation, meaning that usually they need to know a lot of stuff about tea ceremony to be able to hold the conversation well. So it's very high pressure for everyone. And for me, clearly, I cannot hold that kind of conversation more than the 3 sentences that my sensei teach me. So it's not a place where you want to sit. On the contrary, it's very fun because you are the one to taste the first tea bowl of all the room, and it's completely directly from the tea house. Usually, again, as I mentioned, pocha is not usually done very often, and it's done more in private and in the intimacy of your special guest that you put together, that the tea master will put together. The normal is the usucha, and usucha, you're not gonna do tea for 20 people, right? So usually tea host only does the first and the second one, and the rest come from inside from the assistants. So a tea ceremony is actually a group activity. Many people need to be involved to help in the tea ceremony. So it's fun to be on that position because you can taste the first one and or the second one, because the second one also comes to from the tea house, and you can taste it, and it will be kind of handmade by the tea performer, right? Which is kind of an honor. At the same time, because I am foreigner, I always get like kind of like foreigner card that I obviously cannot handle that type of conversations, because yes, basically you gotta handle that kind of thing, and you need really to be very knowledgeable about these things. So you I kind of pass out just with my 3 sentences that my teachers teach me, and enjoy the tea bowl. But if you can, I will rather you don't sit there, and so another more knowledgeable person can see it, hopefully, and they can help the conversation. And if you understand Japanese, or maybe that this ceremony is being translated, you can see that the conversations are actually very interesting. Okay, let's go to the next one, which will be follow the lead. So as I mentioned, the Jikyaku and Shokyaku are the ones leading the ceremony with the tea master, and usually all the guests follow this person. So every time you go to a tea ceremony, it's very easy to just see what people is doing around you. If they bow, you bow. If they bring you an object and they put it here, and you see that they are bowing before putting it here, you will repeat and do the same. So it's very easy to participate, because you just need to follow the rest what they are doing, and you just copy. And do not worry if they say some type of sentence, like for example, Sakinishi Tsurushimasu or something like that. If you don't know Japanese, it doesn't matter that you repeat the sentence, because after 10 people repeating that sentence will get lost in translation, let's say, right? So feel free to just bow, and that's it. So yes, I think follow the lead is very practical for any of you if you don't really know the rules about it. Then what else? Yes, how to take the objects. So this is a quite important one, because not everyone knows about this, and it's very common to see people that is not involved in tea ceremony well doing this. So when you get something, anything, a tea bowl or a tsume, anything that to be observed, you will place it in front of you, always with 2 hands. Always use 2 hands to move the objects around. And then you will move this very carefully, and not taking it too far from the floor. You will never do this, always with 2 hands. And let me explain you why. You can actually do this. You will can be careful if there's tea or something. Can do this, and then if you don't want to touch it, you can do this as well. But the reason that you will not bring them here too high is because sometimes these tools, these pieces, these tea bowls are very old or very expensive, or both. And you don't want that suddenly, because you were using one hand, or because you place them up to here to watch them, suddenly they drop, fall, and break. So always 2 hands to pass it, like you pass it like this, or you atsukaru to you, they say atsukaru, you can do this as well, or pass it with 1, 2, but always this. And then if you're gonna grab it in front of you, always 2 hands, and not that far from the floor, basically. So it falls, and it's tatami, it still will be fine, basically. And the same for natsume. Let me show you how natsume will be watched. So you basically will place it here. You will look at it, especially the draw here. Very important, don't touch it. This one is not, but there's many of them that if this looks like gold color, usually it's gold. So don't touch it too much, because it can break easily, especially the old ones. And you can take off the cover, and you can look inside, and usually will still have the tea. So you will see, like, it's called a keshiki, basically. So it's the landscape of the tea. So the shape and how it left the leftovers after the tea house, basically took the tea from outside and how well it took it and everything. And then you can put this back and then look at it like this and then pass it again to the other one. And when you pass it, usually you bow, and when you receive it, you also bow. So that will be pretty much it. So the last one, and this is also something very useful and you're definitely gonna use. All these are the ones that you're gonna use. There are much more, but don't worry about this. I think if you know about these ones, you will be able to go to anything without being noticed. And let's go to the last one. So the last one, yes, you need to sit in seiza, and this not sure how it's called in English, so we call it seiza. And you need to sit like this. It is possible that your legs go to sleep, and do not worry, because this happens a lot, especially also with the old Japanese people. Everyone is not that many people now is get used to sit like this, so they have a tiny small seats where you can rest your ass basically and it helps you to your feet not get sleep. So don't worry, you can ask for that when you arrive there, and if not, they might ask you, but if you can stand like this, it's better, because everything is built to be able to enjoy the ceremony in this position. So if you are slightly let's say taller than usual, like having a chair, then it will be slightly different, because you will have the tea here instead of here, and it kind of everything becomes slightly different. So if you ever get used to, you will not notice the difference, but when you are doing this ceremony for a long time, you will notice that things become slightly different from here than from here. And I'll tell you, I'm always afraid that if I'm in a chair and I have this and I suddenly drop it, it will be a nightmare. So I try to avoid that. But yes, my feet gets asleep many times. Don't worry, that's kind of normal. And then hands are also very important. So usually the men have like this and the woman like this. However, I have seen all mix and match. I'm not very separate gender person, blah blah blah, so do whatever you feel of this. I'm actually many times like this as well, but ideally this is also very comfortable, especially when you go to a ceremony there's many people and you don't fit, and you're like this, because there's usually many people, you want to sit like this. An important point is like having the left hand on the top of the right hand, and this is something that you will notice from Japan Airlines or hotel industry here in Japan. All the staff, cabin crews, have always, when they stand by like this, left hand on the top of the right hand. And this has a specific, particular meaning, which basically it means that in the past or now, it was considered that the right hand is the attacking hand, right? So you putting the left hand on the top of the right hand, you are just creating an environment of peacefulness and saying this is a place of peace, and I'm in a peace restful mode, let's say, and so I will not attack you. This is not the time to attack you. Of course, people doesn't think this when they do that, but now is the common standard. You will see any staff in Japan standing by with like their hands like this. It's always left hand on the top of the right hand, and if they are done, they didn't pass the training. I can tell you. But you will see, especially cabin crew and hotel industry, they have a very specific training, and this is how they rest. Okay, so I think that was pretty much all I wanted to explain, and I hope I didn't pass the time. So I hope you have an enjoyable time and you learn a little bit about Japanese tea ceremony culture. And if you have, I hope I have brought more curiosity in you and you want to start to learn tea ceremony from now on. I will be very happy if I did so. And please feel free to ping me if you have more questions or you would like to do a virtual tea ceremony in the future. And if you ever come to Japan and you drop by Tokyo, I will definitely would love to have you around here to do a tea ceremony or bring you to any of the tea ceremony happening. Hopefully this situation of coronavirus finish soon, and in the meanwhile, please drink tea and stay safe. Thank you.